Bangladesh is a country located in South Asia, and today marks the country being independent for 50 years. Join me on this journey to find out how the country Bangladesh became independent. So let me give you some background information, because the timeline can be a bit confusing. In 1947, a British lawyer named Cyril Radcliffe came into the country and split it all up based on religious lines. Basically Hindus and Muslims, making India and Pakistan. He did this all in only 5 weeks and used outdated censuses and odd material which he found. It's like using Wikipedia in your essays, it's just not reliable. It was later found out that this was the divide and conquer rule, basically where they split everybody up so they can't be unified in any way. The borders would now be split. Punjab, some parts would be in India, some parts would be with Pakistan.
Bengal would be split up between India and Pakistan, making East Pakistan and West Pakistan. East Pakistan you would know as modern-day Bangladesh.
East Pakistanis at the time said West Pakistanis saw them as a lower class. But why was this? Is it because the population was a lot lower in West Pakistan? Or was it because they had more economic power? West Pakistan wanted Urdu to be the official state language, but in East Pakistan, only 3% of the population spoke Urdu. The rest spoke Bangla. Bengali wasn't classed as an official language, and because of this, there was a lot of back and forth from both sides. The Bengalis and Pakistanis couldn't come to an agreement. But there were 3 key events which happened, and it really made the class division apparent. The first one was the language movement in 1952. So in 1948, it was said that Urdu was the official state language. This led to a peaceful protest at the University of Dhaka, yet 5 students were still shot by the Pakistani police. Then in November 1970, a cyclone hit named the Bola cyclone. But no real aid was sent to East Pakistan and there was no urgency around their support. I feel like I've heard this story before with the Bengal famine. It's like history just repeating itself again. 2 months later, December 1970, Pakistan would have its first election. The Awami League, who you still see to this day, was led by a Bengali named Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. If you've ever been Mile End or Brick Lane back in the day, you definitely would have seen his face. He's a kind of icon for the country. He was later given the honorary title of Bongu Bondu, which means friend of Bengal. So come March 1971, Pakistan had declared martial law under Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and the President Yahya Khan. Even though the Bengalis had won a free and fair election, the West Pakistani government didn't care. On the 7th of March, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman had led a speech. This was known as the Chateau March address, and the famous words which he addressed 1 million Bengalis to was, "The struggle this time is the struggle for our liberation. The struggle this time is the struggle for our independence." And that was the moment where Bengalis knew they needed to fight back. On the 25th of March, Pakistan began Operation Searchlight. The aim of Operation Searchlight was to eliminate any Bengali nationalism. They went into the capital of Dhaka with tanks, eliminating any Bengali police and military. They set the villages and slums alight and shot down anyone who tried to run away. They then attacked the university, and the nationalist leader, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was arrested. The entire country faced executions and mass murder. However, Bengalis were victorious in Chittagong and spread the word for Bengalis everywhere to resist the invaders. Operation Searchlight was a quick fix to gain power over the Bengalis, and it failed. A lot of people would class this as a genocide over Bengalis. The Pakistanis also bombed India, which made the Indians side with the Bengalis, making Pakistan surrender. All of this information is kind of short summaries of things that I've found on the internet and through talking with people. It's really hard to find this kind of South Asian material in history because we're not really taught it in school here in the UK. I wanted to dig a little deeper, so I went to have a conversation on a podcast with a journalist named Mahatir Pasha, somebody who knows the history of Bangladesh really well.
We're talking, 8-9 months of fighting, and we've alluded to some of the, awful stuff that went on. We're talking, genocidal rape, mass murder, arson, stealing people's stuff. It was really, really bad, the kind of strategies adopted. And you know that it was purely malicious because even on the final night of the war, the victory day was 16th of December, right? And on the 14th of December, when it became apparent that Pakistan had lost the war and the Bengalis had won, they sent in the military to just try and kill as many intellectuals and leaders as they could, purely just so that a new Bangladesh would have no chance of getting off the ground. So it was quite brutal. It's very, very brutal. Yeah. And that's why even now, when you hear some of the emotion attached to some people's voices, when you go to Bangladesh, when you talk about 1971, when you talk about the Awami League, when you talk about the Jamaat-e-Islami Party, there is always gets heated. How many events has your dad taken to where you see guys having a fist fight? Or, do you know what I mean? Or guys really going at each other because they're impassioned by it,
The Pakistani army killed between 500,000 and 3 million people. They raped around 400,000 women, and to this day, the government haven't recognised the Bengali genocide or the number of casualties. Trials are still ongoing from the war, and the Pakistanis refuse this to be taught in their school curriculum. These events didn't happen too long ago, so I can kind of see why the older generation find it hard to move on. Their families, friends, neighbours died simply for wanting to have their own identity. I feel that because Bangladeshis and Pakistanis came to the UK at a similar time, they understood each other and lived together and just kind of moved on. So I personally haven't felt any tension. But it's really important that we understand each other's history.
The sacrifices of people allow Bangladeshis all over the world to have a voice today.
Thank you for joining me on this personal journey.